to yet another new format from JRDF. This is what we do every single time. We give you a new way of doing this. We're going to try doing a podcast. So this is kind of us doing a podcast. We will do a very small amount of editing, probably at the front and the beginning and the end of it, and then stick it up on YouTube. But this is easier for us in theory. So we can do it weekly, and we can answer more questions, and we can put more stuff out there and do more cool videos and all that kind of stuff. So
that's the plan.
So we're going to try and keep it to an hour, which I know we are really, really bad at. So Callie has a pokey stick, because for some reason, that's actually quite sharp. For some reason, it's apparently me that does very, very long answers. So feel free to poke me with the stick at any point, because we're going to try and get through about 5 or 6 questions. The questions have been submitted in our question channel on our Discord.
They have. I have also set up the chat channel, the question channels. I've also set up the question channels for next weekend's streams, because there's 2 streams next weekend.
There is one on Friday where we are announcing a kit model or 2, and then there's another one on the Sunday usual time, where hopefully we're going to have a very special guest. So that's all very exciting. We'll tell you who it is once we've 100% confirmed it and everything. And then you'll be able to get questions in for them as well as us, and about
the kit model and stuff and what have you.
But the kit model announcement stream is on Friday.
Because we don't like to do things simply. You know that by now, guys, right?
Yeah. It's going to be on Friday at what time?
5:30. There's a stream that we all tend to watch that finishes about 6 o'clock.
They may or may not be raiding us. So we will try and be in that slot. So if we're there, they might raid us. And it's that whole thing of, if you're there, there's a good chance of doing it. And we want to sort of put a load of stuff out there. So on with the show. So let's start this podcast and go through some of the questions. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions. We'll cover 1 or 2 that we tried to cover last week in our first attempt at a podcast, which didn't really work. But most of them are new for this week and are about Daymar Rally trophies, or ATMO Esports trophies, we should say.
Indeed.
So yeah, let's do it. First question.
Very first question.
Go for it.
So just a wee bit of intro first before we do that. We've done, how many trophies have we done for?
11. And
counting. Oh, you really have been busy. I've been away this week.
11 and counting. So we have done 6 Daymar Rally trophies so far. 3 Daymar Rally trophies in Aluminium, which were the 2949 trophies. 3 in brass, which were the 2950. Now, the reason there's 3, there's one for the buggy, there's one for the bike, and there's one for the Rover. I was looking at, there's a trophy behind me. Anyone who's listening to the podcast obviously won't be able to see them. We do have one. There's a special story about this one in particular, why we're so happy to see it at the moment. We'll get onto that. We then did the 3 Run with Cane trophies, which was first, second, and third place for the Run with Cane event, which is really cool. Which there's a nice story behind, which we'll go into very quickly. They started on this stream, which was really nice.
They did indeed.
And then we've just done the 2 Hurston Hurt Locker trophies for the solo and the duo champion of the Hurston Hurt Locker. Now that is an event coming up this next weekend.
It is. It's next Saturday.
It is next Saturday. If you've not seen the trophies, go onto our Twitter, at ATMO Esports' Twitter. Have a look at them. They're amazing. Really are nice.
Those of you that have watched us, listened to us, what have you, chatted to us regularly.
So sorry.
No, that I don't play. So we are sponsors, we're community sponsors of the Hurston Hurt Locker.
Yes.
So I am actually going to go on an 890 next Saturday.
You're actually going to go in game and play Star Citizen so that you can go and watch the race from 890.
I will go in game 3 times a year for the ATMO Esports events, which I just think is hilarious.
That is hilarious. I like that.
So yeah, I think that'll be quite fun.
Proper red carpet events only. I like it.
Indeed.
That's really cool.
I don't play normally, and I only do the big events. I think that's perfect.
So if you also have a ticket for the 890, and you see this random character just running into a wall repeatedly, not being able to use lifts or stairs or their own fate, please help Kals out, because it's the first time she's been in the game.
Seriously, John's tried to get me to fly whatever ship it was, and I'm like, well, this is boring as f***. He was on a hauling mission, so I was like,
I just like doing box missions. That's what I do.
So that's fine.
So that's cool. The Hurston Hurt Locker trophy is very different. They're actually a 3D print, and they are based around a Cyclone TR model on a diorama base with dead people and a crashed dragonfly and all that kind of stuff. And it's been painted absolutely brilliant by our painter Thenon, and from Nightly Gaming, and he's done a cracking job with it. And it's all over our Twitter, all over ATMO Esports' Twitter as well. So check it out. You can't now enter to win because the registration's closed. But
yes, it did. So first question.
Yes.
Comes from Rye.
Excellent. Good
old Rye. Comes from Rye. Which trophy is your favourite and why?
So I have two favourites. Quick answers. So I'm having to think about it. So quick answers. My current favourite trophy is the duo champion Hurston Hurt Locker trophy. It slightly wins out over the solo champion just because I like the two characters. James the Stormtrooper, massive shout out to James Stormtrooper, who is our character artist who did those poses. And that one just wins out over the solo one because I love the poses that he's done for those. It's probably my favourite because it's the latest one I've done.
Which is totally true. Every kit model you do, you like the latest one we've done. It's your favourite. It's your favourite. Which I think is going to be fascinating when we launch, not the kit model next weekend, the one after. Because you've actually, it's done, but we've bumped it because we wanted to launch. Yeah,
it's had other ages. There's been one ready for two ready for ages that have just been put on the back burner because of technical manufacturing issues.
I think it will be interesting to kind of whether you go, oh no, this is my favourite or not. I think that will be quite an interesting little thing.
And my other favourite Daymar Rally trophy is the 2951.
The one that we haven't done yet.
Daymar Rally trophy, the one we haven't done yet, because I haven't done it yet, and I'm excited about it because I get to do it, and I get to get the forge out again, and we get to melt copper again, and I like making stuff. So my favourite at the moment is the one I haven't done. Because I get to do it. So what's your favourite?
My favourite is this one.
For all those people listening.
Which is, yes. Yes, good point. So I am pointing at the 2950 Buggy Division Champion Trophy.
Yes.
There was a bit of a story. We bought the 2950 ones back from CitizenCon last year.
Yes, they wouldn't fit on a plane or something.
Yeah, they're quite heavy. If you picked one up, it's like, if you dropped it on your toe, you would have broken a toe without a shadow of a doubt.
And the floor underneath your toe.
Yeah. There was lots of jokes about don't put it on a glass table, blah, 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 etc. Because seriously, the weigh a ton. And kind of event was the end of January, so by the time we got the addresses and this, that and the other, and then COVID hit and shipping just went to pot. Couldn't get them out anywhere and what have you. Well, this one was going to Russia.
It did. It went.
So it went. Eventually I found a shipper that would take it to Russia. Unfortunately they took the money, they took the trophy, and then it disappeared. Just literally.
The wind.
And you think, how? You can't carry the box in one hand without, you can't just... Yeah. But it came back on Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's my current favourite. Yeah. I don't know how I'm going to get it to Russia at the moment because most shippers won't take over a 6 kilo package because that's seriously how much it weighs.
But we are very
it's back.
To see
it's safe.
It's safe. We don't have to make another one, which is really, it's really the problem. It's like, we could have done it, we could have made another one, but as we'll go into later, because I know we've got questions about it, how we made the 2949 and the 2950 Daymar Rally trophies is different to how we're going to make the 2951 one. So we'd have to effectively create trophies while the forge was running in two different methods, which has been really annoying because we're moving on so much with our methodology of how we're going to make the next trophy that it'll be annoying to have to do the old way of doing it as well.
It has to be the same as what it was. So it brings up some interesting questions in terms of our production and what have you, and how we do stuff like that and what have you in the future. So it's cool. Next question ties in quite nicely. Anyone to think we'd planned this?
Planning.
What sizes and weights are those trophies, and what material are they made of?
Got a tape measure.
No.
So the Daymar Rally trophy is 240 millimeters high.
Can we have that in old money?
The
Americans?
It is exactly 18.5 barleycorns, or 9.5 inches, as it's usually referred to as, and 6.5 inches or 160 millimeters wide, and at its base it's 1.75 inches or 45 millimeters deep. And this is the main problem with them. They are solid brass. They taper. They're sort of like a wedge shape. If you're watching the cast, they are a wedge shape, but they are solid. So as a result, the aluminium ones were right. The 2950 ones were about 1.52 kilos, something like that.
I must admit, I didn't pay too much attention to them weighing.
It's amazing how light aluminium is compared to brass. I knew it was lighter, but I didn't realise just how much lighter.
I was really surprised when we were making them how little aluminium, and this is going to sound like a really ditzy blonde comment, but how little aluminium is in an aluminium can. So I saved. I mean, JR is a Coke Zero fiend. It's like he will just literally. You're not like. Is it a third water? I don't.
Yeah,
as in a human. You're
75% Coke Zero,
without a shadow of a doubt. So it was like, we'll save the cans, we'll save the cans, we'll save the cans, we'll save the cans. And it was like, oh, is that all they make?
Right. The problem is there's like probably a quarter of what you get out of a can is slag anyway, because it's the paint and all that kind of stuff. And in the end, we actually cut up some old Mercedes alloy wheels. Yeah. So they're made of genuine Mercedes quality aluminium. So
we did do quite a good job with the old recycling on them, didn't we?
Oh yeah, absolutely. All recycled stuff. The brass trophies were...
You cut up a tap, and a week later we had a neighbour pop round and said, don't suppose you've got a spare brass tap anywhere, have you? It's like,
not anymore.
No, all gone.
Yeah, we did all brass taps, and I did score a lucky one because where I get my plastic and metal material, sheet material from, I did have a cheeky ask because they will cut metals and exotic metals and stuff.
JR's panicking. The clock that was there.
I don't know if my computer's gone to sleep or
what will that do. But having said that, it was on my list to actually send them all to the scrappy anyway for actual metal. So worked quite nicely. But yeah, so
I'm assuming it's still working. And Leela will have screamed from next door, our technical assistant for the day.
Yeah, no, that's got the thing. I'm just ignoring it. Sorry, moving on.
My computer was... Anyway. So, where I get my sheet material from, they have these huge mechanical shears because they'll cut metal sheet to size. And I thought, oh, well, they cut brass. They do quite a lot of brass stuff. So they might have loads of offcuts. So I cheekily asked, do you have a bin of offcuts of brass that I could buy off you? And they just gave me for free probably 20 kilos of offcut brass sheet that were still quite lumpy pieces, and that's what the majority of the brass in the Daymar Rally trophies was these offcuts of brass, which is nice because it's really pure. That was really good. I'd say same with the alloy wheels, same with the offcut brass. It was a really good quality metal. The copper one, because we cast one copper Daymar Rally trophy, kind of thinking ahead for next year. Because we wanted to, it was the first time we built the forge for this project, so we kind of wanted to try all the metals. And copper, you need to get up to about 1,600 degrees Celsius to get it to melt. And we didn't have a lot of sand left at that point because there were sand casts that we were making, and there wasn't enough weight on top. So when we poured the copper in, it lifted the sand by about half an inch. So the front of the trophy is fine, but the back of the trophy swelled by half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. So it weighs over 9 kilos of solid copper. So we might as well quickly go into what we're doing for next year. They will look the same. This is the theory. They will look the same on the front, but we're going to use a different method for manufacturing, so we can hollow the back out a huge amount more than we did with the first one. So that the goal is to create all 3 trophies out of this 9 kilos of copper, because the copper was actually really hard to get hold of, because we had to strip wires out and all this sort of stuff to get that much copper.
I also have a shipping weight limit with my regular shipper of 2 kilos. So that's your goal.
We're not going to go down to 2, but we might go down to 3. So we'll see. We'll aim for 2. It just depends how thin we can get the walls and so on. So they will look exactly the same. They will look as beautiful. There'll be a more practical weight.
You tell me you like engineering limitations. I'm giving you an engineering limitation.
2 kilos. Okay, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it together. So actually, there's a question from Lutzig, jumping ahead, about how we made these.
Funnily enough, what's the process of making them?
Cool. Well, so the way we did them last year, where we did both the aluminium and the brass, because we were sort of making them at the same time, weren't we? Was to get our design. Mm-hmm. Now the artwork, the inspiration for them is the Dakar Rally trophies, the off-road racing contest that in real world happens. And there was a piece of 2D art that someone did for the Daymar Rally. It wasn't, of course, I can't remember the name of the person who actually drew the sand person nomad, sand nomad. That's what they call it in Star Citizen.
Yeah, but it is the Star Citizen one is a Star Citizen asset. Of course, they had to get permission for the Sandman to be on their T-shirts and stuff like that.
Yes, but it isn't a Star Citizen bit of artwork. It is an original piece of artwork that was done of a Star Citizen character. That actual image didn't come from inside CIG, as far as I know. And they were using it for their T-shirt, and they're using it as their logo for the Daymar Rally. It was really, really nice, and it just works so well. And Corsair asked us, could you do a Dakar Rally version of the Daymar Rally for a trophy? And he was fully expecting, I mean, to be honest, we were fully expecting to carve this out of wood or 3D printed or something. And it's like, we looked at it and went, we have to forge it. We have to make a forge. I thought, I have to forge it. I have to build a forge. This is the best excuse I've ever had. Someone was willing to pay us for me to build a forge. And because the Dakar Rally is very rough and ready, and it's like when you look at the real life ones that they give to the Dakar Rally, it was like you could see how like they were deliberately rough, and then with the polished face of them and everything. It's like, this is perfect. There's so much room for error in it because it's kind of supposed to look a bit rough. So it's like fantastic. It's perfect for that first sort of project. And my late grandmother was a potter, and she had a big kiln that no one wanted, and that Callie wanted.
Yeah, I wanted it because I wanted to do pottery. Unfortunately, your gran was a little less fastidious about the old electricals and stuff, wasn't she?
Safety, yeah. So this thing, she had wired this 60 amp single phase. It was ludicrous. I don't know how it even ran at a house on single phase because the
bless you, Jean.
Yeah, the elements in it were mad. They were supposed to be wired in 3-phase. So we've got 3-phase, so I could rewire it in 3-phase. And the more I looked at it, and the more it was really old. There was no temperature control on it, so I'd have needed to have done a lot of work to it to make it a safe pottery kiln to have in the house. And in the end, we went, let's turn it into a forge.
Again. We?
I thought, it was we,
I agree.
Me and Jamie. It was me and Jamie. And we bought 2 big propane burners and cut holes in the side of it. And the wall thickness on this kiln is amazing. It's got about 10 inches of fire brick on the outside of it. And so it was absolutely perfect. We bought some crucibles to go inside it of the right size. So we did this conversion, and we built tools to be able to lift the hot crucible out and pour it, and me and Jamie made all these tools for it. And there is a video, if you go onto our Twitter or our YouTube, there is a video of us casting these things, having an amazing time doing it. But it was all done in a day, 24 hours of building a forge and forging.
You'd done the polystyrene casts beforehand.
Yes, so...
But generally, the whole thing was done in a day. Yeah. Round about this time of year, which
it was Halloween, wasn't it?
It was indeed. We literally had kids coming around and guising.
Flames pouring out.
And there was like this green glow, and we had these kids kind of come up to us, kind of going, "Guys," and you're like, "Yeah, feel free." There's a thing in Scotland where we don't do trick or treating, so kids basically have to perform. In order to get sweets, they have to recite a poem or what have you. So there are no eggs thrown at houses, at your car, flour, all of that kind of horrendous stuff that I grew up with down in England. So it's actually quite nice.
But they came round. It was late at night at that point. We're onto the copper. It was just green flames
it's crazy.
Firing out. This thing was absolutely amazing. We did try and do marshmallows on it, and they were really metally. They were really hard, really metallic tang to them.
Yeah, that was not pleasant.
It wasn't pleasant. But yeah, so we did the drawing. We did the 3D model.
We did.
Carved it out of polystyrene. So Exact-Rub. So there's lots of ways of going about metal casting, and the simplest way is to basically make a polystyrene mold, like a polystyrene master, and pack it in sand.
Yep. In the sturdiest, solidest stainless steel pan that you can find.
We promised that she would get it back.
It was
aluminium. It was an aluminium crock pot, a really old one. And we needed something to put, to put bits of the casting sand at the bottom, then the mould, and then cover it in casting sand, then make a hole to be able to pull the metal into. And the metal is so hot, it just evaporates the polystyrene. It just disappears. So you leave the polystyrene in, so you have to make a lot of them. And as the day went on, we didn't cut the pan in half to start with, because we had more sand. But as we got less and less sand, we couldn't pack the sand underneath it as far. We were pouring it from too high. So because obviously metal is very heavy, when you were pouring it, if you pour it from too high up, when it hit the cast, it moved the sand out of the way. And I should say this: we didn't cast all 6 trophies successfully. First time round, we had 3 failures.
We did.
We learnt. It was interesting because we got it wrong in 3 different ways, which was brilliant.
It's typical for us.
Well, but it was fascinating because we worked out one we poured too slowly.
Yep.
One we poured too quickly, and we saw what happened to those. And then the third one was entirely my fault in that I took it out. So we had this issue that the casting sand has oil in it. So it will burn, and if you burn the oil out the sand, you can't reuse it. You have to add more oil back in and retreat the sand. So we were trying to get the sand away from the cast as soon as possible because it was just burning.
We were in the middle of sitcom prep.
Yeah, so this was weeks before sitcom. Yeah.
So we had the 5 community booths to do.
Yeah.
4 community booths, including ours, plus the Daymar Rally trophies, plus the various things for CIG. So literally, we'd factored in a day and a half. I could find another half a day if I needed to. But fine. Yeah. So I didn't physically have time to get more casting sand if we didn't have enough. So it's like, no, we have to do it today.
And we thought it would be really reusable, and it wasn't, because every time we did a cast we lost like 15-20% of it. So we were trying to brush it away, and we did one too soon, and it just crumbled because it just hadn't hardened. The metal hadn't hardened enough inside. And then there was
there was the one where it caught fire.
Yes, and Graham tried to put it out with a towel that had holes in it. That's a cool video as well. That's so funny.
If anyone hasn't, thank you. I think Paul 3 Keys has already thrown it into chat. I'll throw it into the show notes. It's apparently what they say on podcasts. I listen.
Wow,
It'll be in the show notes.
Be in the show notes, people.
Here we go.
We've got show notes here.
Indeed, learning slick. So yes. So yeah. And then obviously you buff the top off.
Yeah, but polish the top.
Had to get
no lacquer.
the little thingies lasered though, didn't we? Whereas this year we can do it ourselves because we have a laser
now, so that's really handy. And I think the other thing is, what I really want to do this next year is do it entirely differently.
Of course you do, my love.
Of course I do, because what's the point of doing something the same twice because you haven't learned anything. So this time I want to do. I've got two options. I could do full on lost wax casting, which is quite tempting. So we would 3D print or carve the trophy. We would then take a silicon mold of that, and then with that silicon mold, that will be our master forever for Daymar Rally trophies, which would be the advantage of that. And then we would basically make paraffin wax casts of it. So we'd have 4 or 5 paraffin wax, which is a low temperature candle wax trophies. You would then set those in either the sand like we did last time, like the polystyrene, or set them in plaster of Paris.
And in theory, they will have a better surface finish.
Yes, much better than the polystyrene. We should be able to transfer. I mean, this is the thing. We could actually spend time and going forward to look at other things that not the Daymar Rally trophy. You could actually polish something in the master, take the cast, and then you get the wax, and you'll get much better surface.
Because we've talked about lost wax casting for all sorts of things, haven't we?
And the advantage of plaster of Paris is that detail will carry on coming through because you've not got it can't move out of the way. Once it's set, it will survive the metal pressure running through it much better than the sand will. The disadvantage is it takes a lot longer, so you've got to actually cast it in the plaster of Paris and leave it 3 weeks.
But does it take longer? And I guess in my head I'm going back to that whole conversation of, is it man hours or is it a longer time? So is it a planning thing in terms of we do it and we leave it, we don't do the next phase of it for 3 weeks, or does it actually involve more, which takes less people time?
It's about the same, probably. You saw the equipment. Well, no, I'll qualify that.
Nope, short answer.
I mean, basically, to do it with sand, you have to get the polystyrene thing and pack sand around it. To do the plaster of Paris, you pour plaster of Paris around it. So, I mean, realistically, the time it takes to mix a plaster of Paris and pour it's about equivalent to doing the sand.
I saw Graham packing that sand. That was quite fiddly. That was quite annoying.
Yeah,
that was quite frustrating.
Mix the plaster of Paris properly, so you've got to leave the plaster of Paris in for about 3 weeks because it has to dry completely. Because if there's any moisture at all in the plaster left, it will explode when you put 1,000-degree metal against it. Which the advantage of the sand is that the sand is porous enough to let that. If there was a bit of water vapor or moisture in it, it would be able to expand as gas through the sand, but it can't in the plaster. It will just explode.
I guess one of the things that we liked about the Daymar Rally trophies when we did the 6 of them was those slight differences that you get between them, like in some
quirks.
Yeah, we'll go with quirks.
Go with quirks.
So that they are all
wrong.
Yeah, they're not all wrong. They all have their own individual elements to them. Things like sort of like the A's slightly filled in on one of them, and what have you. You wouldn't get that, would you? They'd all be exactly the same.
It'd all be perfect.
Oh.
Yeah,
I can see pros and cons for both, actually.
Well, I'll tell you what you could do. If you wanted to give them a little bit of thing, when you've got the paraffin wax master or the cast you don't. Could carve bits away on it and put a little bit in and that kind of stuff to fake it. But no, yeah, you're right. You would get that kind of much better.
I guess it depends on the project, though, doesn't it? And in this instance, Daymar Rally,
I don't know.
Something to think about.
There's something to think about. Now, the other way of doing it that we've been thinking about is something that doesn't happen in the real world. So it's a bit of a JRDF solution, which is to cast a solid block or solid blocks of plaster of Paris.
Oh, and carve it.
Yes, and then CNC carve it. Now, there's an advantage to that, which is you could have stored in a container somewhere or away blocks of set plaster of Paris that are completely dry, and you can just grab one, mill it, and pour it within the hour. So you're not having to wait for, you're not having to make a cast, you're not having to make a master. You just literally stick the block on a CNC machine, and it just carves away your shape. So for a one-off, it's much better because you only have to mill one of them. So there's a certain logic to the Daymar Rally Trophy being a lost wax cask. I would like to try it, and it gives us that master for years to come, because the general idea is that we will keep doing the same trophy but have a different metal every time.
Yes.
So this next year will be copper. We're going to try dragon scale copper, which we're going to have. That's another issue.
Is that's the purple one, isn't it?
One.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So we did manage to make a little bit of it while we were doing the forging. And basically, if you quench red hot copper, it goes violet purple.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's utterly beautiful.
But the issue with that is how you get the water to the red hot surface of. We're going to have to do some experimentating.
Oh, shucks.
With that, yeah.
Might do better to she says, do normal copper this year and then the dragon copper next year.
If we had a spare few casts, we might give it a practice. I mean, my initial thought is a massive bucket of ice water and then dump the whole case mold into it, plaster of Paris, everything. After about a minute and a half after we've cast it, and just dump it in, and it'll probably explode, but it exploding will introduce the water. It'll introduce the water to the copper, and if it's exploding in a bucket of like an oil drum of water.
Oh, so the plaster will explode, not the trophy.
No, but if the plaster might explode off, revealing the copper trophy inside.
Yeah, no, I had visions of actually the trophy exploding.
Oh, it might do. That'll be the thing, is dropping it in when it's just hard enough to survive, but still red hot enough to be quenched quickly to make it go purple.
Yeah, no, I want to get the trophies made sooner rather than later, so they've got time to actually go a bit green before we take the top off.
Yes.
So I don't quite have it in me for that level of stress at the moment. There's enough stuff going on that actually next year or the year after.
Yeah, I mean, so for anyone watching the video, we have this 9 kilo copper one here, and it's very dull now. We've been deliberately what's called patinaing it, which makes it go green, and sort of like use salt and vinegar, and we've tried various things on it. So I think we now know the formula of getting it to go the greens and the patina quite quickly. And then what we'll do is, once it's done that and we've dried it again, we will then grind the face off, so you'll get the brilliant copper as the highlight, and then we'll lacquer it, so it'll stay that way. The brilliant copper bits will stay brilliant, and the dull patinaed copper will stay patinaed because it'll be protected by its varnish and its lacquer coat, and it'll look absolutely gorgeous. It really will. So really looking forward to that. So that's probably what's my favourite trophies, because we still get to play with a forge.
Indeed.
And there's a few other things I want to do, which I hope I'll have time to get ready. Like I really like to do Pirates of the Caribbean, Aztec gold in the forge. So do them out of brass and then gold plate them and do that kind of stuff. So we have some proper weight size Aztec gold, Cortez gold. So
very cool.
That's on my list.
Indeed. So I'm aware we've talked very much about the metal trophies.
Yes.
Thinking about, we haven't really talked about the run with Kane.
Well, we should do, because that was exciting.
It was.
Tell the story, because it's one of my favourite stories that we've done.
So we watched the Daymar Rally trophy. We watched the Daymar Rally event.
Yep. And
we were kind of usual Sunday night stream and what have you, and we kind of went, For those of you that don't know, there was the usual shenanigans whereby someone got in a ship and various people were shot at and what have you, and vehicles break and whatnot. So this guy who had only signed up to the Daymar Rally like 5 days beforehand, never played the game before that week, and what have you, called Kane. He just decided, you know what, I haven't got a vehicle, I'm just going to run. Yeah. And ran the race for
4.5 hours.
Yeah. Until he was shot down by someone in an 890. Little buggers. And I had a conversation with someone not long ago. He was like, I was in that ship.
No, we shot them.
But yeah, so we were kind of like chatting, kind of going, I haven't really got anything set for the stream tomorrow. We should like play around with like they were talking about there should be a run with Ken event. You know what? We'll mock up a trophy.
Yeah.
So we kind of on stream winged it and kind of took the boot that's part of the marine model that we've played around with and stuff in the past.
Yep.
And kind of thought, well, we could stick a bone in it, maybe a bit of a rock, and then the event actually became a thing.
Yeah.
So
I think it was generally an event based around a trophy, which. Based around the stream. It's a bit like It's a bit like Hitchhikers, like a film based on a book based on a radio show.
So, so that was quite fun. But obviously, because normally we talk to Corsair like months before an event, and it's like, right, okay, we try and plan it in around everything that's going on and whatnot. Whereas this one literally just came out of nowhere, and then it's like, okay. And obviously it's a licensed product, so it took a while to get through the things with CIG and the meetings. And
realistically, things take 6 months.
They do.
Through concept and licensing, which is not slow, it's normal.
No, and I've got things down to a bit of a patter now in terms of, I don't really... The kit models we've got a bit of a pattern to. There's a process, who it goes to and what have you, and then suddenly I'm kind of going, so I've got this trophy and it's based on this boot, and you have to explain the Daymar Rally, and then you have to explain Run with Kane and why it's got a bone sticking out the top of it and what that like. So
which department does this go to?
So that was
the
a bit fun.
rock and bone department.
Yeah. So that was an interesting experience.
We did 3 of them.
We did 24 centimetres, 19 centimetres, and 31.
All right. So 9.5 inches. What's it on? 7.5 inches and 6 inches.
I think that's right.
Yeah,
I'm sure there was 31,
right.
24 and 18, or 19, something like that.
Well, they're entirely different numbers. I'm just giving me. We'll go with a big one, a middle one, a small one. They were really cute.
They were really fun actually.
And we did dog tags. For them with the first, second, and third. They're on the photos.
Yep.
Little first, second, and third, so you can hang the dog tags or wear the dog tags. It was nice. It was different.
It was. So that was quite fun. I think they've now all hit with the right people. I've been away this week, so I need to just double check with customs.
Yeah. This is the issue, but I wish let's put a call out for all UK-based esports teams within Star Citizen. Please pick the trophies.
Things. Yeah.
Please start winning stuff, guys, to make it easier to post. We keep making these ludicrously big, heavy things, and we have to post them all across the world. If there's someone in Scotland, if someone in the UK wins one of these, like
we'll hand deliver them.
We will hand deliver it. We will drive and hand it to you as long as COVID allows. We will leave it on your doorstep and rub some alcohol on it, and then run away, and then wave at you.
No, we'll put gloves on. Yeah. We'll deposit on the doorway. We'll then stand at the end of the path.
Yeah.
And wave, so we're not engaging with you in your garden, in your house, or what have you.
All the rules. Yeah. All the rules. But but we'd love to. You have hand delivered kit models, haven't you?
Yeah. Yep. It wasn't in.
No.
I was gutted. Literally, he lives 20 minutes away from here. So I was like, excellent. It was in the middle of lockdown as well. But I was like, I need to go and do a food shop. So fine, I'll do a food shop and I'll hand deliver this. Purely because otherwise a courier specifically has to come to my house to pick it up, to then take it to the distribution centre and then drop it off. Because where I'm going food shopping is 8 minutes, according to Google, from his house. So I decided, nope, that's it. And he wasn't even in.
He was a streamer as well.
He was.
Scottish streamer.
So yes, that was quite fun.
So that was those.
It was. And then... Hurston Hurt Locker.
Hurston Hurt Locker.
You've boxed it up safely, haven't you? I haven't even seen it finished and painted. It arrived after I left Tuesday.
In the safe place now.
Can you remember where the safe place is?
It's in that crate.
Cool, that's fine. Just
okay, yeah.
We have to just be aware.
So there's an interesting problem we could discuss on the stream with the Hurston Hurt Locker trophy, which is it comes as it's currently a base, a Cyclone TR.
Cyclone TR. Does that mean we've designed a Cyclone TR?
Oh, maybe.
Oh.
So we should turn it into a kit model.
We should, shouldn't we? Do you reckon we can turn that around in a week?
Yeah, I reckon we can. Cyclone TR on top, but which isn't glued. It just sits on.
Yep.
Because the Cyclone TR has actual rubber tyres on it and stuff, so it's like we weren't quite sure whether to glue it or not. And
They are. I think they are actually one of my favourite bits on it. I quite like the grey cat tyres. I squish the little grey. I often have them sitting on my desk or what have you when I have them, and I literally they're like a little stress toy. They're lovely, just like. But the Cyclone, you've actually modelled the circle tread thing that's on the inside, and there's actually gaps on the outside of the tyre, so you can see through.
It's a tricky one because it's a very for the tyre probably real life scale is only probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick. So it's just on the outside rim with this weird hubless wheel assembly, which is it's quite interesting. It's quite hard to model, but so that sits there. Then we've got the winners. So we've got either a guy standing on the Cyclone with a bottle of champagne and the trophy. So we actually have a miniature trophy with a miniature Cyclone on it, on a trophy with a Cyclone on it, which is quite bizarre. It's not a miniature version of this trophy. It's a separate, different trophy with a Cyclone on it. Again, thank you, James, for making another trophy for the trophy person to hold on a trophy. I mean, it's just absolutely genius. It's like Inception. But the issue is that the people aren't glued to it, and the thing isn't glued to the base. You sort of look at it, it looks absolutely good. You're like, okay, for shipping, do we pre-glue all this together or not? Because once those people are attached to the bonnet, they're going to be very difficult to protect. The one thing I did think was that the actual bonnet or the hood, if you're American, I was going to say something else, but I'll be nice.
Yeah, please
that
do.
is a separate piece. Because there was actually the engine underneath it, all modelled and everything. So what I was thinking is they actually stand so we could glue them to the bonnet and have that as it, because that just drops in.
No, see, I think, and because I boxed them up, this is the way that I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a similar theory, because one of the issues you have when you've boxed something is how you then get it out of the box. So I'm actually thinking we do something very similar to the way that the Formlabs printers come, in that there's actually a bit that you lift up. So there's a very obvious handle that comes up, because I can lower that into the box, fill it with the foam or beanbag beans, sorry, environment. I know it will mean that when you open this box, there will be beanbag beans in your room for months, if not years, if not your children's lives.
Yes. Like a hereditary
However,
disease.
your model will get to you in one piece. So...
Yeah, I said the other issue we've got is just to...
No, I've made a plan.
Okay, no,
I've made
cool.
a plan. No, go on.
With the people on, it's taller than the box. So, is the other problem. I know, right? Because this
it fitted in the box. When I left, I thought it fitted in the box.
Not with the people on top. So okay. But interestingly, it's not a decision...
Can you put the people wherever you like?
Yeah. But then people are going to have to glue it on themselves. And they might like that. They might not. To be honest, it's one of those interesting ones in that we obviously can't post them until we know who's won them. We can ask the people who win them what they want us to do. We can do two different things. We can explain the situation, and they can go, oh no, they might want to glue them on or blue tack them on so they can move them around or something. We don't know. We'll ask them.
Yes.
Will be the best thing to do. But they are lovely. They're all painted beautifully. They've got the ATMO Esports decals on. And yeah, they're on this cool base with real sand. And I did. So I took. We didn't actually we didn't physically take a Dragonfly model and break it up and put it. I think we actually took the 3D model and incorporated it into the base in a sort of single print. But used various techniques to make it look like it's been hit by lasers and has big holes ripped out of it, and it has all these bits going on in the sort of on the base of it, which is really cool. So I like that, and it's been painted really nice, and it's different. It's really different to these ones. Now there's also the Stanton 7 Cup, which we don't know if we're doing a trophy for that yet. I've already got some ideas for it though. So of course, as listening, I do actually have some ideas and we're talking through.
It is the middle of the night for.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to do trophies for that as well, because we do all the events. And yeah, it'd be really quite fun. And listen, I want to try and do different trophies for each.
So I'm going to bring you back to questions.
Yes, good idea.
We have 13 minutes. So, 2 questions from Lurtzik, and they're kind of the same. I think you'll answer them together.
Okay. Go on.
So, how do you come up with how do you come up with the initial design ideas, or do you just refine those ideas? And can you give a bit of insight into the designing process, so what needs to be considered, how the choice of manufacturing process influences design, like drain holes, SLA, etc. So I guess in my head I'm thinking part of that is about, well, it's a 3D printed kit model that we can talk about elsewhere, but just thinking about actually how you did the bottom and where those drain holes are. Some of the issues with things like the Dragonfly engines and actually the orientation in the printers and stuff.
So for things like trophies, it's quite an interesting question, because for things like trophies, it's actually a very different
From
design.
Leipzig, of course it is.
Of course it is. It's a very different design process than to doing a product kit model. Because, and our painter knows this very well, I do give him a warning on a trophy that this will be a one print job. When we do a kit model, we've probably printed each of those parts of the kit model maybe 30 times to get them iteratively as perfect as we can get them. Whereas when you're doing a trophy, they tend to be quite big single prints, bit of a dirty print, and we'll rig them as best we can and throw them in the printer. They won't fail, but there will be bits where resin gets stuck, and there's supports where you wouldn't want supports and things like that. And there's a lot more of a cleanup when you do a trophy base, because at the end of the day, we're trying to keep the cost down for the person buying the trophy. Because trophies are a lot more expensive than a kit model, because you are commissioning a one-off design. You're only having a couple of them done. You're stumping the whole design cost on it. So we try and keep it down to as fewer days as possible of print, test prints and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, these Daymar Rally trophies, also the Hurston Hurt Locker trophies, apologies, were 41-hour prints between all of their parts for each one.
Jesus.
So, if you fail that or have to do any kind of preliminary prints on that, you're talking.
And one of them didn't it?
Oh yeah, but we repaired it, and that's the thing. When you're doing an event, something for an event or something, you can fudge it. So you can kind of go, well, it failed there. It just lost a lump out of it. So we just effectively dirtily printed that lump and put it back together. And we knew we could get away with it because the whole surface was getting covered in sand and stuff. So you can model make it back together perfectly, and we do that sort of thing for events and one-off installation things, because it's us putting it together. It's like professional model makers putting it together and painting it and stuff. We would never give that to someone as a kit model to put together. It's broken, you'll have to fix that bit. But it's like, when we're putting it together, it's fine. I mean, God, think of the stuff on the Raven that, or the big Dragonfly, the one-to-one Dragonfly, or the Kraken. There's a lot of. We're doing it under very quick conditions, and you make it work and you make it look beautiful. But it's a very different process. And I said that the design process is so different as well, because when you're doing it for a kit model, there's a lot more considerations, because you're worried about weight. I don't really care how heavy the SLA Hurston Hurt Locker trophies are. If they use twice as much resin as they really need to, when you're doing 2 of them, whereas if you're doing 500 or something.
But there is also that thing of, well, instead of having to hollow something out so it uses less resin, that uses a significant amount of your time.
Yes.
So actually, what's a cheaper alternative? What's the cheapest way to be able to do it? Is that your time, or is it more resin? And actually, most of the time, the resin is a little bit cheaper than your design time. Depending on what else you've got going, or what else I've put on your plate.
Yes, and it's interesting what Lutz was saying about drain holes and stuff. If it's solid, you don't need drain holes. Because if you hollow a model out, you then have to have drainage points, and you're more likely to get failures and built up resin and cupping and blowouts if you try and hollow the model out. Whereas if you can just get away with printing it solid and hang the cost, because you're going to use 20-30 quid more resin, but fine, it's a one-off thing. As you say, it might save me 4 or 5 hours of drawing to get that right.
And actually, what's that in a resin cost? Yeah.
Exactly. So realistically, we're quicker when it's one-off stuff. We have to be quicker for several reasons. One, like when we do event work.
Otherwise, no one would do it.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, no, but even not from a money point of view, a lot of these events and stuff we've done for citizen cons and things, we have a really tight timescale to do this stuff on. You just have to do it, that quick. And most of your design choices are based around time. And how can I quicken this process?
Yes.
And we have come up with lots of new tools. We have lots of new tools that have been specifically designed for us now by our amazing...
You're going to mention the wizard again.
Yeah, James has done some amazing work for us. He is...
I do feel like I need a little bell today.
Like
just
the James bell, the James appreciation bell.
It is that.
One of the things we'd like to do with this podcast is to reintroduce guests, because although it's lovely just to us chatting away, and I did realise this is actually quite, well, not unique, but quite rare now. We're doing a podcast and we're in the same look. Look! It's not wizardry. Look, we're actually, well, actually here because we're a couple and live in the same house. So under COVID rules, we still have to do a podcast. It's quite. But we don't want to have guests.
Well, we wanted Jamie in, didn't we? Because obviously Jamie did the Daymar Rally ones.
Yeah, helped us with build the forge and everything, but we can't obviously because of that.
We have the rule in Scotland at the moment is that we are not allowed to socialise with other households indoors.
At this point, yeah.
So even if we, I guess technically, if we really wanted to, we could be here in masks and be, if we...
outside in the cold.
Yeah, the garage, the shed.
Go down the shed,
yeah, where the forge is. So I decided I'm not going to do that. So we'll get Jamie on when we're doing the next one.
Yes.
And actually as a bit of a recap for the 2951 one and actually talking that through. I want to do another video of that anyway.
I really, really want to do the forging live. I know I can't because it'll take us all day to do it and everything, but there's not good internet. We'd have to do it all on phone, internet and stuff. But it's just to even set up a camera in the corner so people can watch idiocy, and if we all catch fire, someone can ring the fire brigade or something, an ambulance.
They're somewhere in Scotland. I don't know where. Yes, I know I'm in Australia, but I don't know where in Scotland. I.
To be fair, they do because everyone knows our address.
Yeah, but we're not here.
Well, if they got to here, they'd see the flames. I mean, we're not there. It's only down the road. So it's like, go to this address and then look for smoke. They're firefighters. They're used to finding it. It'll be fine. But yes, so I'd love to do it live, and then we'll do a proper YouTube video about it, and then a podcast about it as well. So I think it's going to be amazing. I genuinely can't wait. I so want to go. I can't believe we've not used that forge since we did the Daymar Rally trips. We've only ever used it once.
Can't you?
We've been quite busy, but I was really disappointed that we haven't, because there's so many things I want to try on it, and I say I do want to try lost wax casting, and there's about 4 or 5 genuinely completely different ways of doing metal casting, and I do want to try some of them. And I do want to try the quenching and stuff.
You did say at one point one of the reasons why you wanted to do lost wax casting was because you wanted to do an engagement ring.
Yeah, I did do that.
You did.
I did say
you did say that. Unfortunately, you've now found a work project that still allows you to experiment.
And stuff. And I need to get a bit better at it before I start doing gold or stuff like that. That's true.
Otherwise, I'll literally
aluminium,
I was going to say, otherwise I'll literally get a tin ring.
Yeah. Here you go, darling. It'll rust.
To be fair, it's better than the current one, which I'm expecting of a Haribo ring. So that does, however, feel like a really good point to stop.
Yeah, probably. While I'm in trouble.
Indeed.
That was great. Thank you so much for coming and watching the podcast. This will go out on YouTube very soon, because hopefully it won't need any editing. I didn't swear once, I don't think, which is very difficult for me. If I did, I didn't even notice.
No,
I
didn't
really
either.
Consciously trying not to swear. So that's good.
Yeah, no, I don't think I did either.
There we go. Excellent.
We were having a conversation as to who swears more.
I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
I haven't had a drink. That's the other thing. I didn't have a drink for the podcast, just in case, because I'm really bad at it.
Indeed.
So yeah.
It's been lovely. Those of you that are around, please feel free to throw comments into the Discord server for comments and feedback and suggestions and what worked, what didn't. It's a bit weird for us in that we have no immediate feedback from you.
Which we might start bringing that back in, but it has to be in a way that will work fine when it's just put out as a video on YouTube. So we might put an extra 15-minute section at the end where we're chatting to people and that doesn't go out on the podcast or something. We'll have a think about it, but we're going slowly. Let's get this format to work, and we'll expand on it. We'll have a TV with a guest on and all this sort of stuff, and go with that. But we needed to kind of get this technical setup working and us to be comfortable with it and stuff. So questions for next week, which is the Friday, all about the new kit model, which you obviously don't know what it is, and you have no means based on this show to work out what it would be. So how are you'll ask questions about it? I do not know, but I'm you guys are clever.
You can always ask questions about what glue and are you going to show off your little sandy tool thing?
Yes. Oh, I have the best sand tool.
Anyone would think I've given him the most amazing Christmas present ever. He loves
they are
this
amazing.
thing.
To the point where I'm actually going to design a new one for us to sell, or work out how to buy these, but then break the packaging, like break them and sell you them individually. Because you really ever need really one for our models, because they're designed for sort of more woodworking stuff. So it comes in a pack of 4, which is like 20 odd quid. It's worth it, but to be honest, we need one, and we also need to put a higher grit sandpaper on it. So if we could, we'd love to do it as a product for miniature model making.
And the fact that none of you know what he's actually talking about. Brilliant. And on that note, thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Love you as always, and we will see you on Friday, 5:30ish UTC.